I never thought I could actually touch a plane. Learning aviation is this way, that way, or whatever, right? We know every single system. I don't know what you call it. Anyways.
Canada Goose.
Yeah.
Hello from Truckee Tahoe Airshow. A little bit tired in the evening. We are at the end of the second practice day on Friday night, and tomorrow is the big air show, Truckee Tahoe Airshow and Family Festival. So, quick reminder, free entrance, free parking. Don't bring your dogs, but bring a bottle of water.
That's right. He is not here during the day.
And I'm here with Stacey. She is my favorite person here.
Ditto.
And Stacey's keeping the airport safe, taking care of all the airport safety, flight safety, air show safety. And just tell us more about it. What does it take, and how does it keep you busy?
You know, here at the Truckee Airport, it takes a lot of volunteers. A lot of volunteer hours. This is a community event that we put together using, airport funding to bring all the community here for free parking, free entrance, to watch a performance to inspire people and kids about aviation. Because aviation's cool. Aviation's awesome. It's all the good stuff in the universe. That will cut out, right? Okay, good.
Well, tell us about your background. You had a lot to do with aviation before you looked after the air show, right?
Yeah. So my background is actually, I was raised here in Truckee, and then I went to college at California Maritime Academy, and then I joined the Navy, and I was a pilot in the C2s and the E2s.
And a flight instructor.
And a flight instructor, always, yeah. That was actually, as soon as you became a plane commander for either platform, then instructor is that's your next level up. And teaching kids is amazing. Like teaching, and that's not the right word, it's not kids. It's just people who are inspired to be like you someday, or the next generation of pilots. And seriously, it is like it's fun to figure out how they think about aviation so that you can make them the best pilots that they can be. Because aviation is an absolute art. Like, I am not a good painter, I'm not a good drawer, but I'm a great pilot, because that's a true artistry. That's true artist in me. And finding that true artist in people, flying ability, like, it's fun to create that.
Wow.
Or open up that door, really, for that artist to come out.
Find a way to open it.
Yeah.
So your trainees were already coming from after the basic flight school.
They had already done basic and intermediate and advanced. So when they came to me, like, they had already hit the right wickets. So I had some of the best. It might be a little, biased, whatever. But I had some.
If they were not yet, they became after they were trained by you.
Some of the best students came to me, but I tell you what, like, they were all different too. Every single student that came to me, there was not one that learned the same way. Like, we always try to say that learning aviation is this way, that way, or whatever, right? We've got different techniques to train. But there's little nuances that you can use with people in order for them to say, oh, now I get it. Oh, now I feel it. Now I see it. Now I sense it. Now I'm actually, like, wearing the aircraft, which is where we want, right, our students to be.
Yeah.
Isn't that where you want your student to be?
You want them to feel.
You want them to jump into that aircraft, and it's like putting on a suit. It's their aircraft.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And so when you can explain what that feels like, and then finally they can put it on, what a cool experience to, like, watch that happen.
How long was the course that they had to go through?
Our course was typically about 3 to 4 months.
So you really got to know them and
Sure.
work a lot.
And you know, with the military too, we are training every single day. So it's not something that you do once a week. Like, we're in it every single day. You've got a class every day. You've got a flight every day or two. Sometimes you have 3 flights a day, depending on the schedule. So.
And that was all off an aircraft carrier?
No, so we train aircraft carrier later on in the career.
Okay.
Yeah, so yeah,
So
that's
what
something
was...
that's something you get to.
Okay, but you
Yeah.
were teaching on an aircraft carrier.
So all of our teaching is, all of our flight instruction is from the land.
Mm-hmm.
And then what we do is we take the students once they've gone through their FAMs and their instrument ratings, etc. Right? Then we finally take them to field carrier landing practice.
Mm-hmm.
And all you're doing is you're doing the exact same type of landing that you're going to do out in the carrier. So same altitude, same everything, same grading process, same expectations. And we actually have a Fresnel lens, there on the ground, in a small box, painted box on the land, and you are trying to fly the ball onto that box on the land. No, it's not moving, but that's where you have to start with, right? It's still hard. So we do that first field carrier landing practice, and then finally we take, our students to the boat. And then when they go to the boat, it's all up to them.
They go there solo?
No, so it depends. So it depends on what kind of aircraft you're in. There are certain aircraft that you have an instructor with you, and there's other aircraft that you don't. So, yeah.
It must be so difficult, intimidating.
Everybody always says, and I don't think there was a student that I had that didn't say, I'm landing on that? Because it looks like a little postage stamp way down there that you're landing on in the middle of this vast ocean. And you're like, yeah, it'll get bigger as you get closer. And it does. But at this point, that's a fascinating part. When you just keep training, doing the same thing, over and over again. And your winds are different, your lighting's different. Every condition is different. So you're actually teaching yourself all the different conditions of winds and lights and movement of a carrier. You're learning it. Mm-hmm. Just in a way that is almost so subtle that once you actually get to the carrier, that that it's this many feet, this many seconds, this is where I turn, this is my altitude, this is where I roll out, this is what it looks like. And then you know how to deviate. When you deviate, you know how to get back to it, because you're so trained and disciplined in flight to just fly the ball. Seems silly, but you're just so disciplined to fly it.
I've learned something.
Oh, yeah? Yeah, all right.
It sounds so fascinating. I don't even know where to start asking the questions.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
What is the graduation success? When we do civilian flight training, there's first solo, a special day always, and then there is a flight test, and maybe there is a commercial flight test. So what would be the equivalent for your students? Milestones.
Sure. So, obviously, once you get into the flight program and you're actually in it, the percentage rate, just going through primary, that's where you're going to have most of your, most people will fail from there. Mm-hmm. And sometimes, it's not just about whether you can take the G's or anything. A lot of it does come down to, a little bit of discipline and being able to figure out what this aircraft is doing and how you can sense it, right? Once you get into intermediate and advanced, then you're really looking into whether you can figure out where the aircraft is and what the aircraft is telling you where it is, right? You're really looking at more of your advanced instrument stuff. And then ultimately, once you go to the what we call the RAG, he's down. Go on, Bub. Then it really gets into repetition, so that you can compensate to get onto a very small landing spot.
Yeah.
And then you learn your aircraft to a point where, we know every single system. We know our electrical systems, our hydraulic systems, We know every single system to a point where we can draw it all out for it. And we know why we're doing our emergency procedures for all these different systems. And sometimes, they integrate with each other. So what we do for it, and then if we're going to the land or if we're going to the carrier, what we do based on one of those, right? And so it becomes it's really intense. Our training is so intense that you have to be good. We're doing things at 200 hours. We're landing on carriers at
So 200-hour pilots would land on carriers?
At less than 200 hours. Yeah, because it's what we do every day. And it's repetition. And it's learning.
And it's a structure, there's a system.
There's such a wonderful structure to it. Yeah. So you become a really good pilot with very few hours based on just the time that we require that you put into it.
Did you have any scary experiences?
Oh yeah, I had a few, but yeah.
Any of them are shareable? Not really.
Okay, so here's a shareable one. So I remember I was flying in the A4, and I was doing a solo flight. Or no, sorry, I did have an instructor in the back. See, I have to remember. So I was doing a low-level flight out of Mississippi, and I had a bird strike, and I hit a do you call it a herd of gooses? Or a gaggle of geeses? I don't know what you call it. Anyways.
Canada goose?
Yeah, a Canada goose. We hit the aircraft ingested one single jet engine. Yeah. So anyways, altogether I hit 4. And that was a huge learning experience because even though I had an instructor in the back, and he was wonderful, but it was motor skills. I knew exactly what to do because we brief it every single time. So it was just the typical motor skills, even the comms, everything that I did at that point was just so trained, and I just did the next procedure to the point where finally when I was turning towards one of our air bases and landing, it was just so routine because it's what we train at all the time that I landed and there you go, and then we taxied for a hot second and then we were done. Then we got a tow. But it is just that again, the training that you feel so confident in what you're doing that it just becomes so procedural. And I think that's a really important thing for all students. Having something
military and non-military.
Absolutely, and it should be definitely non-military because military is good, but we have our structure for a reason because we're doing stuff all the time. But even for your civilian, you need to be very structured. You need to have your procedures. You can't just jump in a plane and go. There's no such thing without taking a huge risk. And that risk analysis that you decide to, the risk that you decide to accept.
Yes. Acceptable level of risk.
Yeah, that acceptable level of risk, you have to understand that if it's just for you, but sometimes when you're in the plane or every single time that you're in the plane, that risk is for more than just you.
Always.
So as individual as we want to become, sometimes you have to remember that I'm taking on this risk and it's going to affect a heck of a lot more people than just me.
Airshow has actually been a good example. We have so much structure in the air shows. We have the 500-foot line, we have a 1,000-foot line.
Right.
You stay on that side, me stay on that side, and we never do aerobatic energy towards the crowd because they will be talked to by the FAA, and there's a good reason for it. If my aircraft is integrated in the air, it shouldn't be flying towards the crowd.
Yeah.
So yes, I'm taking the risk, but nobody on the ground should suffer from my decision to go flying.
Same idea. Yep, absolutely same idea. Yeah, and what you do, you take on so much risk, definitely not just for yourself. You take on risk for, yes, the people, the spectators on the ground. But you really think about the risk that you take about, how do you inspire people? It's by doing the right thing, by showing people a great performance and then landing safely on the ground. So that you can go out there and you can actually like smile at them, shake their hands and say, you can do this too. And that's a fascinating part. People can do it.
And it's important, I think, to see a real person.
Yeah.
And because to me, at least, maybe it's like personal, but the crazy stuff is not particularly inspiring if it is dangerous.
No,
And
no, that
to
shouldn't
me-
be inspiring to anybody.
And to me, one of my biggest motivations was, I'm a single mom. I have to go
Yeah.
back home. So I'm not going to be taking risk going down, like hitting the trees, or it's like, I don't need that.
Yeah.
And if that's what it takes for it, is I'm flying higher, if I'm flying less advanced maneuvers here at high density altitude, I will skip a few maneuvers that I would typically fly at sea level, and that is okay, because I can still go and fly and enjoy flying and hopefully have a nice performance without pushing the limits where it's uncomfortable or risky. Some people ask us, like, what's your riskiest maneuver? What's most dangerous maneuvers? Like, I don't have those in my routine. What I do, it might be advanced, but I have practiced it so much to make it non-dangerous and non-risky. And
Wait,
to me,
you mean like flying to an aircraft carrier and landing? It's so procedure, it's so practiced.
okay.
And so that, again, that's exactly what, I was trying to get to earlier, is exactly what you're saying. Yes, there is risk, but you're so good and you're so procedural at what you do that it's not just a craft, right? It's so routine, it's so disciplined, it's so procedural.
That's how you said you fly that ball. And
Same thing.
Then you practice it so many times that
Same thing.
my mentor, Bud Grandley, he was saying, make difficult look easy and make easy look spectacular.
That's great, yeah. Yeah, sure.
And I mean,
Sure.
he is a phenomenal person, and he was, by the time he retired, I think he was flying more than 65 years of air shows.
Oh gosh.
He can make planes talk. And I have
Yeah.
learned so much from him, but as he was teaching me, it was like, okay, we can work on this or you can work on that, but like every single maneuver, and especially as I was going to the surface level, like you have to be able to bail out of it, if not just normal maneuver, if you don't have speed, if your engine quits, if something goes wrong, you always have that margin where it has never been, it's like, oh, you can do this cool maneuver. It was the opposite. It's like, you're going into this maneuver, how are you going to bail out of it? What's your plan B, C, and D?
Right. Where's the safety margin?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
And
where's
it's
your
like,
safety
okay,
margin?
you
Where's
go
your
for this
outlet?
one, you can always bail out of it. You pull towards the ground, not so much.
Who was this fantastic man that you speak of?
Bud Grandley.
Awesome. You're like Bud Grandley.
I love him. He is amazing.
Yeah. How long did you fly with him?
So when I started flying 12 years ago, he was the one who took me under his wing. I have no idea why. I knew of him before, and he was one of those cool aerobatic
Yeah, yeah.
performers that you like, one day I dream to be out there, and all of a
Which
sudden...
is what you're doing with every single person and kid here, yes.
And
dream.
then when I started, I got my first certification, and then he actually, okay, come over, we'll go flying. He's like, what, you mean I get to fly with you?
With you?
And I mean, we talked before that, and like every time he was so sharing, so like I've learned so much from him, I can't even start retelling it. But it was not just stick and rudder maneuvering. It was about air shows in general, about safety, about life.
Oh, interesting. The inspiration of really like a culmination of like,
Like a true mentor,
yeah.
not just mechanical following instruction, but a true mentor.
Yeah.
I would not be flying if not for him. Like I wouldn't be at the air shows if not for him.
Fantastic. Well, I do find that, that's the biggest thing about an air show, right? You're putting on an air show so that you can inspire people. Like you're going to awe. Of course you're going to awe. But you're also inspiring them to try to touch something that seemed untouchable, right? You could do it. I can do it.
I'm just a normal person.
Heck yeah, I am. I got a dog. I'm a normal person.
I have 3 dogs. That may put me in the abnormal.
Well, yeah, hold on. Just kidding. No, but it's really true. Mother, right? So you can be a wife, a mother, a husband. It doesn't matter, right? It's just that point of it that anybody can do it. And if you're scared, that's fine too. Let's see how scared. Maybe it's for you, maybe it's not for you, but try it first, right?
You won't know if you don't try.
Nope. And then even better than that is just the ability to touch people and say, this is aviation. This is fun. This is fun. This is my career, right? This is,
oh my God, I get paid for it?
Yeah. So it is all the inspiration, but it also brings people to be able to touch it and say, oh, I never thought I could actually touch a plane. I didn't think I could talk to, a pilot. I mean, we're pretty easy to talk to.
We love talking.
Yeah, love talking. Yes, we do. It's just having the communications. Like you're taking down the lines of communications. Again, it's the best part about this air show. I mean, this is a community air show. We get 10, sometimes 15,000 people into this air show up in the middle of the mountains. It's fantastic, and everybody's supposed to come and enjoy themselves, watch you guys do your performances, get inspired, and then have something to talk about when they go home. Wow, I really love my airport. That's what I hope. Because this airport is something spectacular. It offers a lot.
It definitely does, and I enjoy coming back here every time.
That makes me happy when you say that.
Oh, this is one of my favorite places. And technically I might be working. I don't feel like I'm working. It feels like vacation. Yes, we have to fly. Yes, it is an effort.
Absolutely. It's a lot of energy. You bet. Like it or not, you're giving a lot of energy out, and then
But it's so energizing. It gives you energy back when you see the impact it does. Yeah. And when you see all these kids and you get to take pictures and talk to people, people's energy is recharging your batteries, I find.
True. Truth. Right there. Truth.
What's your favorite part of the show? What's your highlight?
Oh, Chinkies. That's a hard question, dude. I think it actually, I'm not trying to play anything here at all. My favorite part of the whole entire air show is when people get here and they get to see how fun aviation is. If I can inspire every single person and kid, it doesn't matter. You don't have to be a kid. You can be an adult and just say, look, this is aviation. Aviation's fun. It's touchable. This is
real.
It's real. You can do it. It's not just sitting in the back of some airliner trying to get from point A to point B. There's so much more to it. Inspiring people to see that. And when my community comes out here, number one, I'm really proud of my airport. I'm so proud of this airport. So when my community comes out here, and it's a small community, and they say, hey Stace, and I get to show off what I do every day, when I get to show off the people I get to hang out with every day, when I get to show off those performers who I adore, and I'm these are the best people in the universe. Come see this. Come see this. And they get here and they're like, whoa, that was amazing. I'm I know. Isn't this great?
This air show is your baby.
Well, it is, because I want everybody to know that this air show, and every air show, but this air show, this is everything about my community. This is our community. It's this is where we get to come together for hot seconds. And no other event in Truckee does 15,000 people come together to watch a few people up there do these amazing performances. Do they come to look at all these cool planes that are up and down our airfield? We close down the airport so they can come see it, so they can touch it, so they can look at the asphalt, they can look at the airplane, they can look at the sky, they can look at the runways. I mean, they can touch these things. And they go, oh shoot, we didn't know we could do this. This is pretty spectacular. I'm I know. And then look at all these people. Aren't these the nicest people in the universe? And so anyway, so aviation is not just about flying planes. It's about the community of, and I just want to show my community, this community. Aviation community is such nice people. They are so disciplined. They are so procedural. They are so competent. And ultimately, the best thing, they always call us type A personalities, but our type A personalities are also those things that make the aviation community just so incredibly...
Type A meaning type aviation?
Yeah, but bound. but we're really bound to like to making things good. Like we're good people. We're really good. Aviation is filled with a lot of good people.
And it's a small community. I was amazed many times in my life where I would be like in a remote place or just landing in a random small airport, refueling on the cross country, and somebody runs to the fuel pump. Anna, what did I do?
Yeah.
And you or somebody is phoning for reference for former students, and then turns out it's another of my former students.
Exactly.
It has been so many cases in the past where it's like aviation seems big and it's worldwide, but it's not that big.
It's not that big. It's filled with a lot of really good, like heartfelt people.
And continuing the event, there's on Sunday also a Young Eagles event, right?
Typically, yeah. This year, not.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But yeah, following everyone, they typically fly about like, seriously, like 100 kids. Yeah, that's the EAA.
When is the next one?
I think they're going to do it in just a couple months, 2 or 3 months. Yeah.
So keep an eye out on the Young Eagle events. Oh, yeah. And this is, again, such an awesome program. Not all the families have the opportunity to bring kids to fly and give a chance to try. And there are so many people, so many pilots who just want to give back and just...
And again, it comes from the aviation side. It says, let's inspire people to want to do this, because really it's such a fascinating like perspective of the world, right? So come in, jump into my airplane. I'm going to fly you around. You're going to see your community at a totally different level, totally different, like bird's eye view. You can wait from your mom, as your or your house, whatever, as you're a few thousand feet, overhead of them, and then so it's inspiring.
It makes it very special and real.
Again, it's real, and again they say, I could do this. Yeah. I think that's a really important part, is like making people understand that aviation is not for somebody elite. It is for somebody who wants to go fly.
Wants to put in effort too, because you cannot cut corners.
No, you can't cut corners in aviation, like whatsoever. Absolutely not. Yeah.
What inspired you in the first place?
Oh, my folks. Yeah, my dad, he was a Navy pilot. And my mom actually, her maiden name is Fly, F-L-Y.
Oh.
And she soloed with me. Well, I was not yet born yet. So it might have had some sort of might have affected me a little bit.
Oh, that's so perfect.
But even both of my folks, I didn't know women couldn't, fly fighters and stuff like that.
Didn't occur to you?
They would never tell me I couldn't do something. Yeah, and so there you go.
I'm glad they didn't.
No, I know. Yeah, they're really neat people.
And it plays such a big role. For some, it's their parents, but for some, it's a person maybe outside of their family.
Exactly. It's somebody that they meet at an air show. It's that easy, really. It's somebody who says, I want to be your mentor. Come on, let me teach you how to do this, Anna. That's awesome, right? And isn't it inspiring when somebody wants to take you and say, hey, come on, let's come do this. You're going to be wonderful at this. Just trust me. Trust yourself.
I feel I'm a baby pilot myself. I'm just learning.
I know, we all do. I think every single pilot should feel like that. Soon as
I don't feel competent. I feel competent. Yeah. I know what I'm doing, but I don't know it all. And often enough, I would have questions like, "Oh, how does that do?" It's like, I can look it up and I can get back to you, but I actually don't know it all, and I'm not going to make it up.
No, and you can't make it up in aviation.
No, you can't. Yeah. I feel like I keep learning, and it's like talking to. It started with Bud and Ross and his son Ross, so they were both flying, and it's father-son formation, and they were doing inside-outside loop and all the cool stuff. So his son was a snowbird. Bud was in the Air Force before the snowbirds. They're super competent. They're amazing pilots, but they would guide you. They would not whack you. They would steer you firmly whenever it's needed. So they will give you straight goods as it is, especially when it comes to safety. But
margin of error there. Yeah. And so the firmness is because there's a very small margin of error. Yeah.
And I was actually mentioning it the other day when we were talking with Vicky. and had this forum discussion. He said, Vicky saved my life 2 years ago. We were flying at this all-female air show, and she had prior a similar situation where she was taken off with her steerman after a dirty pass of some big jet and got into a wake, and it was like pretty dicey.
Yeah.
So she came to me and was like, I see on the schedule you have like a I think it was a 737 taken off like a local airline. It was in the schedule and I was next to fly. So like just wanted to put it on your radar screen. And I was so engulfed in preparing my plane as like doing the other things. And I'm so grateful to her. She just came and told me that. Yeah. It was not as like, sure enough, that plane takes off, the Airbus is like, Anna Skydance, clear for takeoff, the airspace is here. I was like, I'm sitting here for the next 3 minutes.
Yeah.
That was thanks to Vicky. It's not an everyday air show occurrence to have a big jet to take off before you.
Right.
I believe that saved my life because
Absolutely. And she experienced it and she was lucky enough to live through it, right? So why wouldn't you pass that on to the next person? And you heard it, you listened. And so you guys both saved your life. Right? And that is, I always say that that's like kind of quintessential Vicky. She is so professional, so down to earth, so thoughtful, and so caring about like aviation. Like she doesn't have a secret. She will lay it out just like you, right? You push it out there to make sure of what happens next, and it's all for the benefit. Right?
It benefits all of us.
Absolutely. Yeah, any experience benefits the next person, right? Good or bad.
And we'll never live long enough to make all the mistakes.
Nope.
So learning from others as much as possible.
It's a pretty good idea, especially when they want to pass it to you, right? And that's why I look at the aviation community of being like, this is the people that we are. It's like, no, let's push boundaries right up until we're like, oof. Everybody should know about this. And there is no secret in aviation. There should never be a secret in aviation. It should be a very open forum. It should be a very candid conversation about, we've got an extra access here, so let's talk about it.
Yeah.
And it's such a small community that, let's talk about it.
So I never feel like 100% safe. To me, it's like, what's the next thing that can possibly go wrong? It's like, what's the next threat that can come? And you can say it's paranoia, but I think that
you always have to have an outlet. Anything that you do, you have to have an outlet.
Because it's not inherently dangerous, but it can be if it's taken with complacency.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm scared. Again, I'm a single mom. I have to go back home eventually every day.
So when you do some of your maneuvers, for instance, like when you're practicing, right? And you're out there and practicing, and have you ever felt that point where you're like, oh gosh, like I'm accepting something not perfect. I'm not perfecting to perfect. So, because as pilots, like we're always perfecting towards perfect, right? There are very few times where we're on altitude, on airspeed, on heading. We're always sort of passing through those three, right? Mm-hmm. And so we're always correcting back, and we pass through it. So it's always correcting to perfect. Every once in a while, and this is the interesting part where I find is that you start finding people who are like, well, it's good enough to be a little off altitude, a little off airspeed, a little off heading. And they're kind of okay with it. And that's when you sort of said, no. That's a part that's where you're starting to get like the complacency of being okay. No, we're perfectionists. We are always correcting to perfect. We will very rarely be there. We're going to pass through that perfect, but we're going to strive to go back to that perfect. We're not going to be complacent. So is there any point, have you ever seen yourself where you go, ooh, did I just get complacent?
It's never perfect.
Yeah.
And it's probably the least perfect after the winter season when I haven't flown the aerobatics all that much, and then I'm going in spring out to the practice area by myself and start flying my routine again. And I started at the altitude, and each time my first practice, oh really? And I still fly.
Can I do this?
And I'm doing individual maneuvers separately, and then I start putting the sequence together, and then I start watching the specific altitudes. And the only perfect routine is on my sequence card in my plane.
Sure.
It looks so perfect. I have for every maneuver the minimum speed, the minimum altitude. If it's not there, I'm flying through. the maneuver is not happening. For some maneuvers, I have a backup. So if I have an avalanche that has to start at 160 and I don't have 160, but I have 140, I can do a loop. So anywhere between 140 and 160, that's kind of my backup maneuver. But for the most part, if I'm not getting those numbers, it's a fly through. And for example, here, I know I'm not even trying. There is a couple of maneuvers. I know I will not get them here. And that's not a perfect show. And I'm doing the best I can with the rest. When I'm flying sea level air show, same thing. As there's one runway here, but then you're aligned with the taxiway. That's one of the complicated boxes the box we were flying in Olympia. It's very confusing because you have like intersecting runways, but you align to a taxiway that is at an angle, and the public is in one corner, but you are flying the show center somewhere offset. It's a challenging box. So you're coming out of turning out of a snap roll, and you're trying to align. It's like, which one am I aligning to? This one. It's like, and you start descending. It's like, no, this one.
Yeah.
And so there are always moments like that. They are not dangerous, but they're not perfect.
Right.
And you're constantly correcting because you have, airspeed, altitude. And the moment I don't get the airspeed altitude that I want, this is where the correction and heading.
Yeah.
This is where the correction is happening. And I find the least you correct in the cockpit, the more the plane is all over the place. So when you see somebody flying like very smooth and straight, it actually takes a lot of corrections and like micro adjustments in the cockpit. And it's not just aerobatics. Like on landing, what we teach the students is like dance on the pedals, especially on the tail wheel. So it's like they constantly like dancing on the pedals on the landing, because that's what keeps the plane straight on the center of the center line and not going off to the side. If the pilot gets lazy, the plane starts going dancing.
And that's absolutely true. So even when we're flying the ball, for example, when we're flying the ball onto a carrier, our controls are moving at all times, because you're always correcting. You're always correcting, recorrecting, and then recorrecting again, right? So you correction, recorrection to every one input that you put in. So the whole time that you're coming down, I mean, your feet are on the rudders, you're just moving. There is never one point where you can look at it and be like, this looks good.
Good enough.
I got it. There's no such thing.
Those are the words in the cockpit that make me cringe. Like, I got it.
What do you got? What do you got?
Have you ever had any of your students tell you that?
Actually, I probably have. And as soon as they say, I've got this, I'm like, I don't think so. Here, let me help you out. Yeah. And especially when you see controls stop moving, and to a carrier that's moving in front of you, the LA is
the carrier is going away from you when you land out towards you.
Yeah. And when they say,
is it going away or does it go towards you?
No, so it goes away. So on a carrier, the LA is aimed to the left. Right?
Okay.
So it's always going away from you. So you're always doing a right for lineup.
Okay.
But as it's going away, or as you have, your 15 basically seconds on the ball, 12 to 15 seconds, you seriously, like, if things stop moving, the world's about to come apart. Yeah.
Yeah.
You have got to keep fighting.
And then looking from the outside, that's a perfect approach, right?
When you look from the outside, it's just like, boom, and they roll out. Yep. But ultimately, like, what's going on in the cockpit it's chaos.
Yeah.
It's
control.
What's going on in the cockpit is actually controlled chaos. Like, you are just always
constant small corrections,
because you're always you're always maneuvering to perfection. You're always correcting to perfect. You have to put in some input to correct
it's never perfect, but you're always trying to correct.
You're always passing through perfect, right? So you pass through perfect, then you have to recorrect and get back to perfect. So you're always correcting to perfect.
So I've got it story. So I had this helicopter pilot that was learning to fly a tail dragger. And it was, I think, first or second. I think it might have been his first flight. We did a couple of circuits, and then we are coming in for landing. And he is pretty much about to crash the plane. And it's like, okay, I have control, I'll help you, I'll correcting. The phrase I'm hearing, let it go, I've got it.
Oh, geez.
And it's like, okay, I have control, you let it go, it's a full stop.
And we're gonna full stop this one.
And this is one thing that I find, even if people have maybe less skills and haven't learned that yet, but if they're ready to put the effort, and maybe they're slow learners, and I can deal with all of that, and I will help them, and we will go through it again. And we have had fast learners and slow learners and everything in between. And this is why we are here. We are instructors. We are teaching to fly. We are a flight school. That's our mission in life. But something that I find, at least I didn't find a way to correct and fix, is the attitude. And if the person doesn't come with the right mindset, it's very hard to get through. If not impossible to, and it's definitely not a discussion that should ever happen in the cockpit.
Oh geez, no. Oh geez, no.
So those are the things that was like, sometimes we try to have a conversation and bring it back to perfect, and sometimes I can say it's like, I don't think I have the skill to bring you to where you think you want to be. Or
And I think sometimes, a lot of times, especially with type A personalities, right? There's a difference between ego and pride, correct? And there's also a difference between ego and confidence. Ego is going to kill you. Every single time, ego is going to kill you. That doesn't benefit you. It doesn't benefit, me if I have it. And it actually hides a lot of secrets. That's, again, we come to that secret part of it, right? So aviation is a very much an exposed entity, right? You're saying, this is me, this is what I want to do, and this is what I'm going to do to get there. And I want to learn from you, and the only way that you can teach me is if you actually are honest with me and tell me how you kind of screwed up, so that I don't make that same screw up. So we're going to be very honest in this conversation, and you're going to tell me how you learned, and then some of your pitfalls there, and you're going to tell me how you got through it, and then I'm going to take it again.
But I don't think I can teach you. I can help you learn.
Right. But if I have an ego, then I'm just going to say, I don't need you. I just need to fly the plane. I don't need you. And again, you take it back to Vicky Benzing again. She goes, look, I had this situation. This is what it was. This is what I did. I was lucky or good, whatever. Sometimes being lucky and good are you'd rather be lucky than good, right?
Yeah.
But again, you pass that on. So you go, this is what I know. Here, have this.
And what I find the most experienced people in aviation, there's the classic saying, there are no old bold pilots.
Yes, there are.
But the very experienced pilots with tens of thousands of hours, you talk to them, you would never even know. They are so humble, so down to earth. And we just, an hour ago, we're talking to a common friend that you wouldn't even know in a conversation about his experience and the amazing, epic stuff he is doing.
Exactly. You would never know.
No.
Because why would he want you to know that he's, better than you? I'm not better than you. I'm no better than you. You're no better than me. We're going to do this together. What do you know? I don't know. What do I know? Let's put it together. Let's be something better. It's fun about aviation.
That's where 1 + 1 is 11.
Exactly. Yeah. True, I like that. I'm going to use that, Kay.
Of course.
I'm using that one. I like that.
No, that's when the joint effort, it comes the next level. And those experienced pilots really get it. And that's why they are where they are.
Yeah, I agree.
I was way more confident when I had 300 or 500 hours than I am right now.
Hey, there's a reason for that.
I know everything I don't know everything, but I know a lot more things that can go wrong, and they did go wrong over the time. And yes, I handled them the best of my abilities at every given moment. But I realize what there is to be scared of, and what kills you, what you don't know that you don't even know about it.
That's right.
And that's where it comes around and bites you.
What you don't know is going to kill you. That's right. And so that's why you have to listen to people when they give you their stories or their, even their advice. You have to listen to it. You have to be humble enough to take it on board and listen to it. So you go, thanks for that learning lesson, without having to go through it myself.
And the more you know, the more you don't know. You know that.
Yeah.
You know the drawing.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. The exponential factor.
Well, like the blank sheet of paper, right?
Yeah.
So if your circle of knowledge is about this,
right.
So what you know that you're aware that you don't know is on the edge of it, right? So you don't know, that you don't know about this, and you don't even know that you don't know the whole rest of the
Sure.
sheet. As you are expanding your knowledge, now the thing that you know that you don't know is even bigger. So the more you learn, the more you're aware that you don't.
Right. And so as that opens up, you're like, this is exponentially big. I don't know much.
I don't know anything.
With knowing this much, I don't know a lot. So there you go.
And what I found is an interesting saying is I was recording, taking some notes, and you're best off positioned right now to help a person that you were 10, 15 years ago.
Yeah, that's true.
And
I
try to think where I was back then is as a beginner pilot, that's about the time frame for me. And as what I take for granted some days right now is no, I need to actually spell it out for my students. And it's not automatic, it's not taken for granted as it might be, because after so many repeats right now. But we're very privileged to be flying. And
sometimes we're very privileged to have made good choices, or the lucky choices. We were lucky to, I was lucky to have a mom and dad who said, go do it. Who gets that? Not everybody. I was lucky enough to have it, right?
You were. Mine didn't.
And who's lucky enough to say, hey kid, let me show you some stuff. Come on under my wing. These are the things that you and I think really do look at. We say, how can we do this for more people? How can we say, you guys can all do it. Come on.
And when I sometimes okay, no, I'm a single mom, I cannot do it. Or it's I'm an immigrant. I'm an immigrant single mom, and I still chose to do it. And yeah, there are barriers and things that are not as easy, but it's so worth it.
Yeah.
It's so worth it.
You've done a wonderful job. You are such a good performer. And you're also an inspiration to everybody who's on the ground too. You know that. I hope you know that. You've got a huge amount of humility in it. What you do and bring to an air show touches more people and inspires more people to just try it. It's fascinating.
I may know
it's big.
some of it, but for me, it's I'm just a normal person.
Of course you're normal, but I'm saying you can be normal and still inspire.
Okay.
So take it and just say, you know what, I'm going to go inspire.
I sometimes, I don't know, for me, and that's maybe another part, I'm flying to Ave Maria. And I was looking for a special music. It's not just classic music. To me, it's special because I think God allowed me to do what I'm doing right now for a reason. I might not even know all the reasons. And maybe sometimes you can call it an imposter syndrome because I'm just a normal person. I grew up in suburbs of a medium-sized city in Ukraine and then immigrated, and it's had all the struggles that
we all do. Huh.
And I was lucky and I was given this privilege to be able to fly.
Yeah.
And certain things came naturally to me because when I took control of the planes, I just knew, or when I first did my first aerobatics, it was love at first sight.
Yeah.
And
hello, Romeo. Yeah.
I just loved it. And certain things, studying and technical stuff, I did have to do it, but I didn't struggle through it, and I had an ease in learning it, and I enjoyed it thoroughly. But sometimes I think I need to be more grateful because...
Time out. We should all be more grateful. We should all be more grateful for what we have and where we are. And that's absolutely true. So
We're very
That's it.
privileged.
yeah, yeah, and that's not even that has nothing to do with anything else. It's just yeah. It's not just aviation. I mean, it's everything. So
It's everything.
oh, Skeeter, he's excited that he gets to go home and eat dinner.
And we are holding him, poor guy.
I know. And these guys are like, Jesus, you guys, come on. We are tired. I can't hold this camera up anymore. I know. Sorry, I forgot about it again until guys started moving. I'm like, oh, sorry, guys.
I'm not even looking at their direction.
I know.
I'm just looking at you and talking.
So if
5 more minutes. So let's all think about what we've learned in this discussion.
Tip number 1.
yeah. Be humble. Tip number 2.
Never be complacent.
Nice. I like that one.
Tip number 3.
Be grateful. Absolutely grateful.
Always.
Yeah, I like it. Do you have a 4th?
I do.
Okay.
Constant, small, continuous improvements.
That's right. In everything you do.
In everything.
In every single thing that you do in your life. Yeah.
I think those are good takeaways.
Yeah. Perseverance. That's what we did. Yeah, that's what you do.
Get up and keep going.
And you have a dog. A Skeeter. Or 3.
Or 3.
Weirdo.
You'll have to come and meet them.
No, I will. Skeeter will too, huh, buddy?
We take all visitors.
All right, let's get this. You have an early morning.
So do you.